I'm Joel Sharpton. I am always listening, and this is the 5 people you'll meet on your way to podcasting. As the philosopher Richard Starkey once said, I get by with a little help from my friends. And podcasting is no different. Today, I'm going to tell you about the 5 people that keep me here, right where I am today on this show, other than me, myself, and I, of course. Your list is going to vary widely. But one of the reasons that I wanted to do this particular episode is to help foster in each of us the thought process about who these people are or could be if you haven't launched your show yet. Maybe you're backfilling that info because you're already a seasoned podcaster, or maybe you're a newbie and you're trying to build out your squad today. Number 1 on my list, Josh Shirley, my first co-host. First and foremost, he was there every episode with his presence and energy. I wasn't doing this thing alone. Somebody else was bringing something to the table too. He was my literal sounding board for new ideas, concepts, new presentation forms, or things that we wanted to add to our podcasting repertoire. In my case, he was also my financier. In the early days, he had a much better day job than I did, and so he was the pocketbook for all of those experiments and the budgets that we brought to them. Get yourself a cheerleader who doesn't just stay on the sidelines, but can get involved. It helps if they're willing to bankroll your experiments and shenanigans too along the way, or at least split the financing, right? Number 2, Jay Soderberg, Pod Vader himself. This guy was an incredibly formative mentor for me in the podcasting space. He was one of the very first creators that I listened to and watched on a regular basis. And once I actually met him, he became, again, one of those people that I could look up to, sound ideas off of, and eventually co-host this show with. Jay Soderberg is whip smart and an actual podcast pioneer. I am blessed to know him and even more blessed to have worked alongside him. Numero 3, it's Jonathan Oakes from Trivial Warfare. Jonathan was a friend first, a mentor next as his show exploded and I started learning things about how to grow my own show and how to help my clients grow theirs. For years now, he's been a client himself as his business and production schedule got out of hand for his own ability to edit. He passed that off, and now he and I have been working as a team producing the Trivial Warfare main show for years. Even for industry-specific shows like real estate or mortgage, the way that Jonathan has built and serves his audience is a lesson for any content creator. Number 4, maybe out of left field a little bit, but this is my old boss and general amazing human being, Gary McKinney. Gary was the general manager for the radio station group that I started work for in 2004 and continue to be working for even to this day in a limited capacity, doing a tailgate show for Louisiana Tech University. I learned as much from Gary about the radio business, managing people, and being a good dad as I ever learned in a college course, or maybe even all of them combined. He's also paid me for the better part of 2 decades, and I genuinely was not worth it, at least some of that time. GMAC, as we call him, is in recovery right now from a recent surgery, and he is in my thoughts every day. He's in my work every minute, though. Finally, my last person who allowed me to be here today sharing this message with you all doesn't know anything about microphones or media hosts. She's very fuzzy on RSS feeds or filming ratios, but she's my partner and my best friend, my beautiful and my love, my wife, Kelly Sharpton. I was standing at my computer desk in the spring of 2012, working on a video project and talking to her about one of the podcasts that I had listened to that day when she asked me, "Why don't you have a podcast?" My first answer fell false, so I kept it in my face. I started to answer again, but I realized that wasn't really true either. I didn't have an answer for why I hadn't started a show yet. I worked in a radio station. I was a talented audio and even video editor. I had equipment, know-how, the whole nine. Within a week, I had my title, an intro, an outro, and some idea of what the show would be. It was a silly little chat with me and my best buddy. That lasted a couple of years and now lives only here on YouTube as an archive. But it got me started. Josh and I met folks through that show that led to our next show, Pod on Pod Podcast Reviews. That evolved into Always Listening as we got a little bit more serious and a little bit more seasoned. That evolved into my business and has allowed me to travel all over the country, work from home and own my own labor, help people all over the world, spend more time with my kids, and yes, that very beautiful girl that started it all with the question, why don't you have a podcast? So now I'm asking you, why don't you have a podcast? If you do, who are your 5 people that helped you get there and help you maintain that constant production week in and week out? Once you have your list, make sure you say thank you. They deserve it. If you're stuck on the starting line, though, stop searching for answers why not and start producing. The fact of the matter is we all have a certain amount of bad content in us. The only way to get to the good stuff is to get it all out. If you need a podcasting pro on your side, you can always find me at joelsharpton.com or right here, where until next time, I am always listening.
Yeah, I know I ain't seen it all, but I've seen enough. Yeah, I know I ain't seen it all, but I've seen enough.
For help on your podcast, visit propodcastingservices.com. Our theme song is Enough from Bethany Rayburn.